So let's have a look at designing from scratch using some of the tools within the software. These are all down the left-hand side, and as you hover over them, you will get an idea of what they do. There are several basic shapes in the Standard Edition, and if you do upgrade to the Designer Edition Plus or the Business Edition, you will see that you'll have even more of these. In the standard software, you have a rectangle, a rounded corner rectangle, an ellipse, and also a polygon, but these are just the starting points. For instance, when you select a rectangle, you can click and drag it out. If you have selected it in your preferences, you can see the dimensions. If you hold down the Shift and drag out a rectangle, then you'll get a square. This again is pretty standard with regards to a lot of graphic programs, so you may well have come across this before. The same happens with the rounded corner rectangle. Hold down Shift and you'll get a rounded corner square. Sizes can be altered at a later stage. The ellipse will create ovals, and as soon as you hit that Shift key, they will turn into circles. Polygon is an interesting one because it starts off as a five-sided shape, but then with the slider you can add in additional sides or take them away. So a polygon is just the starting point. Other sliders that you see on any of the active shapes mean that you can edit the design. If you right-click and convert to path, that will lock in the shape. So you can no longer edit it in this way, however you can change the size of it. This is good if you don't want to accidentally change the shape. Once a shape is a path, you can double-click it to reveal its nodes. These are little squares that will appear at a variety of points around your design. These nodes can be manipulated to just change the shape. You can also click where there aren't any nodes to add them in. This gives you lots of scope with regards to changing the original shape. A lot of fine-tuning can be done with nodes, and we will go into point editing in another video. At this stage we are just scratching the surface. You'll notice that as you move those little sliders on the rounded corner rectangle, it will alter all four corners so as they match. You can also create lines. A simple straightforward line with the first option. The second option, each time you release the mouse button, you will see it lays down a node. When you complete the shape, it locks in, but you can still manipulate those nodes as you choose. You can also create lines that have handles attached to the nodes. This means that you can give the line more of a flow. You can create a shape and the nodes will still be there for you to work with. The little handles that are attached to them will give you scope to manipulate these and get the curvature that you want. But again, we will look at this in the point editing video at a later stage. The last tool will allow you to create an arc, like using a compass to draw. Again, you can manipulate it and the size of the angle is always shown. You also have the ability to draw freehand with the little pen tools. You can plot out your design, literally like drawing with a pen on your screen. This will lay down lots of little tiny nodes without you even knowing, and you can manipulate these later. You might prefer to do it in more of a dot-to-dot style line. You can do this with the other tool that's there. Again, the nodes and the handles can be manipulated. You'll learn more about these in the point editing video. The next tool is the text tool, and this is one of my favourites. It allows you to use all of the fonts that you have installed on your computer and use them as cutting files. There's a lot to learn about working with fonts, so a separate video is also available. This doesn't have to be a standard font. It could also be a dingbat style font, giving you lots of additional shapes. If you have a preferred font, then you can get this set up in your personal preferences. That way, when it opens, it will open with your choice as a default. Once selected, you simply click on the work area, the flashing cursor will appear, and you just type whatever it is that you want to cut out. You'll notice that a green box appears around the text as you type it. If you click on it twice, then you will see that it will appear with a grey box, and you can manipulate it and move it around the screen. When you have the green box, you can go in and add to the text, delete elements, or do whatever it is that you choose. There's also a little plus sign in the bottom left-hand corner, but more about that in a moment. It's also possible to make the text follow a path, and this can be any path that you choose. It might be a circle that you're creating, because you want the text to follow an arc. So first of all, you create the circle to the size that you want. Or it may be that you want to follow a particular line. When you go back to the text and click it, you can see that the green box will reappear. This means that when you hold down that little plus sign and drag it to another shape, it will follow that path. When you are happy with the result, right-click and click on Convert to Path. This will lock in the changes you've made, and it will no longer be an editable file, but you can still change the size, etc. If I type up a new phrase and move the locator, the text will run along the line, and you can see how it will follow that path. We'll cover a lot more on fonts in a separate video. You can also create a note. Think of this like a sticky note on your screen. It can remind you of the things that you need to do during the course of creating your design, because quite often you won't create your design in just one sitting. Don't forget that you can use additional features like the fill to remind you that you need to cut something out of a particular colour. There's a lot more to the fill menu than simply adding and taking away colour, so make sure you check out the fill menu video too. Another useful tool is the eraser. You have two versions of this, a solid and an outline. And when you click on the tool, they will become active. If you hover over each, it will give you a little explanation of what they do. You also have two shapes of eraser, a square or circle, and you can alter the slider dependent on how large or small you want them to be. So let's have a closer look at these. I've drawn two identical ovals, and we're going to use the eraser tool on both of these. So first of all, I'll work with the solid eraser. When I erase the line, it will join up to ensure that we have a solid shape, filling in wherever the eraser has gone. The outline eraser will simply erase part of the outline, resulting in an incomplete shape. The knife tool works in a similar way to the eraser, but you have to cut through the shape completely in order for it to work. You have a variety of different cut edges and also a solid and outline option. So let's duplicate this item just to see how the knife behaves in the different scenarios. So on the first one, I have selected solid, and I'm just going to cut the shape completely in half. If you hold down the Shift key and drag the knife when you release, the shape will be cut. And because I've selected solid, it will make the two halves into complete shapes, adding in additional lines. If you have outline selected, then this will be different. At first, it doesn't look like you have any difference at all. But what you will find is that when you separate the design, you have two arcs. Now you know the basics of what the tools will do, why not check out our first project to put them into practice? There are a lot of features within the software, so you might want to subscribe to our videos to learn more.